Welcome back. Thank you, Todd Starnes. Great to be with you all. Praying Durham's Nothing But Truth. Top of the hour, NSA and Egypt Aid with David Gardenstein Ross, Foundation for Defense of Democracy Senior Fellow. He will be joining us in an extended conversation. But right now, we go to This Week with George Stephanopoulos and the roundtable discussion, which included former Senate candidate in California, ran against Dianne Feinstein, and her name, Carly Fiorina, former Hewlett-Packard CEO, and quite successful, very successful. But she talks about, actually she's responding to George Stephanopoulos' question, that how are the Republicans going to go against the narrative of, I mean, you've got the demographic problems, you've got the war on women problems. I mean, it seems they're divided. How are you going to deal with all these narratives? And, well, she reminds not only the panel, but I think America on where America truly is, which is a traditional center-right country. You would never know that when you have marches that are marching for sexual behavior and the redefinition of marriage. Or that you would see people like Wendy Davis lionized despite her ignorance of Kermit Gosnell, and having some of her supporters, though a small amount, be screaming, "Hail Satan." You wouldn't know that if you turned on network television and you looked at conservative Christians. You'd say, what's wrong with those people? They're extreme. Because they portray us in the most demeaning ways and misrepresent us so often, speaking to our hate. If we oppose homosexual marriage, which I do, because I support marriage, and I believe in biblical marriage, natural marriage, doesn't mean I like the Westboro Baptist Church. I don't. But you watch network television, that's what you get. And it certainly doesn't mean you like that kind of behavior. And the same is true when it comes to race and a whole host of things. So part of this is setting the record straight. Carly Fiorina makes the statement about abortion and where America is, where Rick Perry is, America is, the world is, and then talks about a legislative strategy of incrementalism. Now, the very fact that she mentions that there are people in the pro-choice community and part of them are part of the Republican Party, we know this. My point is, I'm not looking at it as a purist right here. I'm looking at it of what she is exposing to the panel about where America is on abortion. And it's what I've been talking about a lot, which is we need to get our voice out, our message out, and we need to speak in truth and love, which you all do. But the way to go about it is not to assume that everybody is so far to the left. Also, when we look at abortion, we see that only 15% of America doesn't find it morally wrong. That's the latest poll. I'll tell you more about that on the flip side of the clip. Here she lays out incrementalism and moving the ball forward. Inevitably, I believe what will happen is it will return to the states. Roe v. Wade tried to take it out of the states. And then it is my hope, my prayer, that we inevitably get a constitutional amendment. But to do that, we got to win the hearts and minds and have the debate. Roll it.
Well, I think first we have to turn it around by having reasonable discussions around the things that are labeled extreme. Let me just give you a very simple example. First of all, not everyone in the Republican Party is pro-life. I happen to be pro-life, but there are many pro-choice Republicans. But example. When Governor Perry pushed forward legislation in Texas to ban abortion after 20 weeks, it was labeled as an extreme move. That's 5 months. 5 months. There are only 4 countries in the world that legalize abortion after 5 months. China, North Korea, Canada, and the U.S. It's actually not a particularly extreme position to say a woman needs to have a choice up to 5 months, and then there really has to be a medical reason. But it got cast as a very extreme point. I would be willing to wager that there are many, many single women who are pro-choice who say, you know what, 5 months sounds reasonable to me. So I think part of the Republican Party's challenge is to not fall into the trap of having issues cast the way our political opponents want them cast, and be willing and courageous enough to actually have the debate on our terms.
Breaking down the political narrative of what we do here. She must be listening to this program over the last 4 years, because that's what we've been doing. And it's not rocket science. We know this. But this is what's happening. We listen to others. We've talked to Seaton about it. We've talked about it ourselves. It goes back and forth. Don't accept the narrative. It's a false one. Challenge the narrative. And don't let your policy be based on the people, getting the people that want to destroy you to like you. They never will. Unless an act of God. And they can be shown the truth. Okay? That's the point. So, Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison joins in and talks about how Republicans, really just stand for obstructionism. And then there's roll it.
At the end of the day, the Republican Party has to talk about how they're going to solve problems for Americans. What's going on with jobs? I voted to not repeal Obamacare 40 times, but they haven't put forth any kind of plan for how they're going to make sure we got affordable, accessible care for every American. I mean, at the end of the day, they've got to have a program that Americans can say, that's going to help me and my family, and that's not what they're doing. They're talking about process and technology and stuff, but at the end of the day, you got to stand for something, and they stand for obstruction. And the Republican majority in the House has obstructed at every single turn.
It's so easy to blame the Republicans.
Look,
the
I'm there every day.
But the Democrats are in charge of the national government.
And we have not, and you know what? Under Obama, the jobs picture has been brightening, not enough, but not with any Republican help. And I might want to point this out to you with pure obstruction from the Republicans. But I might point out to you that building our nation's infrastructure, which would help jobs, is actually a good thing. It's something the president has proposed. Democrats have supported. Republicans need roads.
Okay, I got to take infrastructure. Are you tired of this line? How do we do it? With cost overruns, 50+%. Time overruns at averaging 40 to 50%, having to pay exorbitant wages through Davis-Bacon. What exactly? How are you going to do it? Is it going to be a jobs program that you don't want to give them shovels, you give them spoons, so more people can be employed and it can be as inefficient as possible? Or can states get the money, have more control over it, and it can actually come from the gas tax? Yeah, okay. Or are you going to divert that someplace else? You don't like infrastructure. You don't like roads. I drive on roads. What? Are you serious? Infrastructure really works out well. What about the stimulus? It was an absolute failure. Real unemployment, 9 to 10% right now. And that's adjusting for the people who have left the workforce because of their age. Real unemployment, 9 to 10%. More accurate than 7.4%. Totally underdelivered. It concludes with a debate on Obamacare and Bill Kristol challenging Mr. Ellison, Representative Ellison, about Obamacare and its implementation. Here is that exchange that kicks off with the implementation of Obamacare. Roll it.
Is the implementation of Obamacare helping create jobs or hurting job creation? Just an empirical question. Do you think there will be more jobs? If Obamacare were delayed for a year, you don't think that would help job creation with small businesses?
I think that it would help jobs if we get 30 million more people access to health care. It would help those people. It would improve their family budgets. We certainly will. And I'm telling you, in states that have embraced it, we are doing fine. Let me tell you, in Minnesota, we're very proud of the exchanges. There's no way we would delay it because the uninsured are looking forward to being.
Why did the president delay the employer mandate across the nation for years? It's working so great. It would help jobs. Why would he delay it?
Big problems need big solutions, which need flexibility.
Yes, so delay the individual mandate too.
That's not the problem.
That's not the problem. No, they're all over the place on Obamacare because the cost, the implementation, the delays, 56% of the delays, they have not met their deadlines. That's over half. And that's not including the defunding, the 8 measures that were unfunded that you could place into the camp of not being on time. So now it's the implementation and flexibility. If you wanted so much flexibility, then why did you come out with such a law that you didn't even read? And now you say, oh, the states need flexibility, people need flexibility. Why did you try to take over an entire system based on 16% at most that you were going to take care of? And that number, in fact, you said it was unpaid medical costs in the sense of emergency room visits. That's only 2.8% of all medical costs. So, and 1% with pre-existing conditions. You were going to solve all that, and you've tanked the entire system. Your goal is to go to single payer, take out the profit and insurance, and there you have it. Brain Durham's Nothing But Truth. Your phone call's next. Inequality. Do you have a problem with it? AFR Talk.